think we can start?
Let's go forward, Vanessa.
Okay,
I will
perfect.
monitor if someone is joining, but yeah.
Okay, thank you. So I will start this presentation. Nice to meet you all. I'm Vanessa Pozzali, and Tarek is my partner. We came from Synthosys, and today with the Institute of Leadership, we are part of these amazing presentations about building a lasting impact, about legacy, leadership, and the power of influence. What we'll do today is about speaking about legacy, what it means from a leadership perspective. We will see like the human legacy, so we will check different leaders and the legacy that they left behind. And then we will shift on a corporation organization setting and understand what that means, have the legacy there, and using also our TIC model that Tarek will explain later on, and how to use it to empower our legacy. A little bit of context. So who we are Synthosys. Synthosys, born from the synthesis of our different background. I'm a psychologist and psychotherapist, and I work with groups and organization from the unconscious level. So understand whatever unconscious going on in the groups, highlight it and deal with it, and not be influenced by it without knowing. While Tarek came from a motorsport engineer background and leadership coaching, where he works with high performance teams. So we blend together our background and we look after high performance teams, ensuring that they have a good well-being too. As I said, I'm a psychologist, and I'm also co-founder with Tarek of Synthosys. Do you want to add something about yourself, Tarek?
I think you covered it very well. So I come from a motorsports engineering background, worked a lot in 24 Hours of Le Mans, thinking of what is a high-performing team. My expertise originally was in tire and how to design the best suspension for a car to be balanced on the track. And that's what we as well translate with Vanessa in psychology on team and high-performing team. And our mission is simple. We want to democratize this intervention in organization, where because we can see that the high-performing team is becoming a buzzword, but as well there is a price and cost to pay with well-being, which we try to eliminate when we think of resilience and a more sustainable high performance.
Thank you. So before to dive deep in the topic of today, I want to do with you a small exercise of visualization. So wherever you are, find a comfortable position. If you want, close your eyes. If you prefer to have them open, it's fine. Just take a moment with yourself. I want you to take a breath. So let's breathe in and out. We can do a couple of more time. Breathe in and breathe out. One more time. Breathe in and breathe out. Now, I want to think about the leader who left the deepest mark on you. I want you to build a picture of that person in your mind. Find their name, remember their face, picture their entire presence, the way they stood, the way they moved. Perhaps it was someone you worked with, someone who challenged you or yet supported you. Maybe it was a figure you admired from afar, whose word or action shaped your perspective. Or perhaps it was someone whose legacy still echoes, even if you never met them personally. Picture their face, picture their name. When you have a clear picture of the person that you're thinking about, I want to think what made them unforgettable. And if you can, write down on a paper or in the chat, if you feel to share, what make them unforgettable. Thank you, Emma, for sharing. Okay, now that we have thinking about the legacy that touched us, we can dive deep a little bit and understand in more cognitive way what is the legacy. Legacy is something that is heading down. It can be from generation, it can be even the culture, the legacy culture in a company. It can be something that you are thinking about right now. So what touched you? We have some example, the integrity, the visionary, the curiosity, the mediator, and the capability to listen and to be reliable. This is the legacy that touched us somehow. And what we like to see about the legacy, that is not something that is living for someone, but it's something that is living inside other people as we're touched by. And this is a quotation for Peter Stropper. We also have the capacity or the innate, thank you, Emma, and the innate willing to leave a legacy in others. And it can be in different ways, like speaking about the Dawkins self-gen theory, where our gene, they are made to preserve themselves, and so they maintain the legacy through reproduction that was made as human. But there is other type of legacy other than biological meaning. We have the visionary thinking. The visionary thinking is someone that is able to create a vision when there is not one, to create something that is not yet there, but is able to picture, to make it able to imagine, to believe it, and to pursue it. One of the most famous visionary thinking is Nelson Mandela, that leave in us this amazing legacy of being together despite our race. There are other kind of legacy, like empathy and integrity. We have an amazing example that is the Jacinta, I hope that I pronounce it correctly, Arden in New Zealand. She lived through COVID in New Zealand. And what struck me about her history, about her story, is that she was elected without really believe it. She was running with the Left Party, and they didn't think they could win. And they win, actually. They won, and she became the leader of her country. And even though she was kind of suffering from imposter syndrome, as a lot of women and diversity people in this world, when they arrive and reach higher position, they think they're not tailored for that place. And what helped her is leading with empathy and integrity. So stick to their own value and perpetrate them in every action and in every leading action with her team and the people around her. We have a different kind of legacy and leading that is serve-oriented. We have the example of Abdul Sattar Edi in Pakistan, where he created this network of ambulance and volunteer networks. He was able to inspire hundreds, millions of people through his own example. He lived modestly, and he inspired others to do the same and to serve their country with this network of volunteer ambulance networks. So he used himself as a legacy towards others. There is another kind of legacy that is called courage and action. It's someone that does something very courageous, out of the norm. It can be even kind of dangerous because they can put their life on stake. We have Malala Yousafzai. Very sorry for my terrible pronunciation. That she raised her voice to give voice to the people that cannot be heard. So give voice to the silence, to the people that couldn't be heard and seen in our society, and not only in Pakistan but all over the world. And she won the Nobel Prize. I don't remember exactly in which year, but she's the Nobel Prize for Peace. And then we have different legacy, in quotation I put it, that is the narcissistic legacy, that I wanted to represent it with this number. Is a narcissistic number. That means that is a number that is equal to the sum of its own digits, and each raised to the power of the number of the digits they give themselves. So if we take the number 153 and elevate power 3 each of their number and sum them, we have again 153. That means that this narcissistic legacy is the repetition of someone else. And this is not really lasting, because a repetition of something in a different context is not very helpful, because the environment change and doing the same things can be detrimental at certain point. So it's something that we not promote as a legacy. And all this legacy, it can be unintentional. Maybe in some of the example that you think about it, the person you think about it didn't want to give you that impression or that legacy. Or sometimes what it touches us, it can be for opposition. So we find someone really bad to lead us that we want to do completely the opposite. But how we can build an intentional legacy, so be aware of the imprinting that we are giving to others. So what is the legacy that you are creating? Think about, if you step away tomorrow for your work positions, what will remain in your teams? And I say in your teams, not for your teams. Which way of thinking, of being, of leading you will leave behind? And I think that this kind of thinking, it's very useful to understand what kind of legacy you want to leave behind. Tarek, it's up to you.
Thank
You
you,
are silent.
Vanessa.
Okay.
Yes, yes, always happened to me. So thank you, Vanessa. I'm going to take it from there. And our aim is to finish in 10 minutes, maximum 15, so we can open the floor for any question. So from where Vanessa stopped, see, I like the quote about what you are leaving in people and not for people. And from my experience, you see, when I coach many CEOs, especially one that are joining a company recently, I take them back to all of us in our first job. Think about it. The first job we had, and we start working in a company. We are all naturally excited to find areas to improve things, you see, and to show that actually we are good, we're motivated, this is to be improved. And what I often challenge this natural habit in us is actually before trying to improve things right away, and I come from an engineering background, so can you imagine about optimization? Let's try to think why things are the way they are. How much are they aligned, misaligned? What's the gap? And then from there, we can maybe try to create a legacy that will outlast our time. So to do that, I want to first of all share with you quickly. I don't know if you're familiar with John Adair. He got a model called ACL leadership model, which is action-centered leadership. And it talks about how you as a leader, you balance three different poles. So the task, the individual, and the team. And the whole idea is keep these things in balance. You cannot focus too much on the individual and forgetting the team or the tasks, and vice versa. Now, at Synthosys, we love that, and I used it in many coaching in the past. But what we discover as a leader is that the task will get done if you align your people. And this is where we created our own model and philosophy at Synthosys, our TIC model, which simply stands T for team, I for individual, and C for culture. And what we try to teach leaders is how can you see the three and align them properly? So we can share many examples from real work we did in company, cannot mention the name for confidentiality, where you have sometimes a leader that is protecting their team from the culture. Very good leader, they see an amazing team, they want to ensure the dynamics remains fantastic. What happened with that leader after a time, because of the misalignment between the team and the culture, they will go into burnout. Or the legacy they built will crumble and fall when that leader goes away, and so on. And our message is how can we build sustainable legacy and leadership? So, and I want to share with you some real examples so we can reflect together. There are many. I decided to choose these one. So, if you think of Starbucks, okay, and Howard Schultz, who was the CEO for 3 times, and he created a fantastic legacy at the start. The idea of Starbucks, the coffee, and what's the message and the vision they want to give the world. And watch out, I'm not even a fan of Starbucks coffee, by the way, but doesn't mean we cannot learn from their vision. However, what I want to share with you here, and focus on what I wrote here, a legacy that depends on a leader risks unraveling when trust, culture, and team coherence aren't embedded at scale. You see, there is a risk if you depend on a leader too much. And now, if you look at the journey of Starbucks, okay, now we know there is a lot of outside factors, but let's focus on the macro level. So in the phase one, when Schultz exit as a CEO, you can see rapid expansion. The philosophy of Starbucks became we want to expand globally, rapidly, have rapid growth. And this created disconnected teams and loss of identity. And what happens is that they had to call back Schultz to return and retrain staff and recenter the vision. So if you think, for me, if you look at this, when a CEO is leaving a company and then suddenly everything falls apart, you might have a legacy to be proud of yourself. I did this in that previous job. It was fantastic as an achievement. But at the end, if it's not sustainable and everything crumbles, then how much can we call it a legacy? Again, I take into account disruptives, events, like many things in the world that we cannot predict. But let's focus on the big picture and the main aim. Same thing, he came back 2008 to 18, and he worked a lot on recentering people and values, and how can we align them? And again, push Starbucks up, but again, it fractured again, and then he had to come a third time. And then at the end as well, a fourth time with all the events that were happening lately, geopolitical and so on. But we can give other examples. If you think about Apple as well, which is an example I like a lot. So Steve Jobs built a great vision. Think Apple in the past, the people, the technology, and how we can really have this technology in your hands. But then when he left the first time, Apple struggled a lot. And there was big issues with competition with the market and so on. But then again, when he came back and reworked on how can we compete with the market, but still embed our core vision, value, teams, philosophy, vision, this is where even after a long time now, Apple is still thriving. We might have different opinion. Maybe they are not as good as they were before, but there is more alignment, at least in their team, their vision, their product, and how they see things. Now, despite you might read many things about toxicity in the workplace and so on, but again, I just want to take with you the big picture. Another example, which I really like, is Alan Mulally, and I'm sure you're familiar with. And Alan, I mean, when he joined Ford, Ford was in big troubles, big issues. They financially, they were really relying on the government and they were collapsing. And legacy is not always about the people only. In this example specifically, it's true he worked on increasing clarity for the people, but the biggest vision he did was reducing the number of models Ford had. I think from 96 model to maybe 20 something. And again, it's still a philosophy of Ford. They might now struggle a little bit with competing in the EV market, so electric vehicle, but still they have the philosophy of work on quality rather than quantity, like before, and have those fewer products done well. And these are leaders that everyone will still talk about, despite them leaving after a long time. And that's our approach, is how can you align your team, individual, and culture? And from our experience and our work, when you align those three, you will have a more resilient organization when facing disruptive events, whatever they are in the future. And we want to leave with you a small nugget. So this rogue model is a coaching model that I created and wrote a paper, which is in the BPS, British Psychology. And it's a model in coaching I use, and I teach as a workshop as well for coaches, but also it's our philosophy, me and Vanessa, how we help leaders and organization look at things in the proper way. And if we go back to the example I gave you, when we all first get a job and start to want to optimize and change, in my model, I tell you, start with our reality. So in your position today as a leader, whatever it is, focus on understanding the reality. If it's of your colleague, of your employee, your team, or even your whole organization and vision, or even yourself. What's the current reality? Where are we today? The challenge we have, why things are in a place in the way they are, what's the logic behind it? Then you can start looking at what's the outcome we want to have. You see, many people sometimes they discover that the outcome they want in the legacy actually is more selfish rather than company impacts. And it's hard at the surface level to really have that clarity. But with good challenge and support, you can have that clarity. So understand what's the outcome you want to reach, and then look at the gap between your current reality and those outcomes. And then dive into a deep understanding. So what can I do now? Perfect. I understand the gap. I want to understand more why my outcome is this one, and how can I reach it, and what does it mean? And then you start creating an effective plan. So this is the E stands for evaluation and effectiveness, to reevaluate your thinking, your strategy, and how effective it will be. And I want to close with one last slide, which I really love this one. So to explain to you in few words why we talk about bias, about misalignment, about jumping right away into action, is because we look at all of you, and including ourselves, all of us as well, an organization as ants. Ants are hard workers. They will fix an objective and they will march north towards it, non-stop, dedicated, hardworking, and it's all of us. We want a better life, a better team, a better company, bigger impact, healthier lifestyle. So we right away design strategy and we march towards that objective. Unfortunately, in many cases, that ant is marching north on the back of an elephant heading south. And that elephant is the unconscious forces driving us sometimes. They are present at personal level, team level, and organization level, which we call systemic bias. And the more we spend time understanding that misalignment, which start within ourselves to then the team, so we go back individual, team, and culture, this is where we can ensure to create a healthy organization and a long-lasting legacy. So I'm going to close with that here now. Synthosys, we offer a lot of support from assessment of culture and team dynamics to 360-degree leadership assessment for leaders, to leadership course accredited by the Institute of Leadership in UK. We do supervision, we do coaching and mental fitness and so on. And if you feel you would like to know more, please don't hesitate to ask us any question. Now, we would like to open the floor for any question.
There is already a question, and how do you measure reality?
I like this one. David, can you expand on what do you mean? How do you measure reality? I understood and I have the answer, but I want to make sure. Can you?
I'll come on screen. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, we deal with this a lot, and people's perception of their surroundings, their environment, the people they're with, can be at odds to what reality is around them and the impact they're having and the dynamics they're having within the team. And it can be very hard for people to actually almost be punched on the nose with reality and then do something about it. And which reality do you want to actually work with? Your own that you're in at the time, or actually the reality of what's happening to your organization, profits, relationships, everything else that goes with it. So how do you actually measure it? So you put it in front of them and say, right, this is what is really happening. And how do you do that in a non-judgmental, unbiased way that actually has impact to it? So you can go on and do the other things with it. So it's almost a starting point.
Love that. Vanessa, do you want to take that or shall I jump into it? Sorry, I closed the meeting by mistake just by touching the earbud. Yeah, but I understood the question.
Yeah,
Vanessa, you want to go for it?
Yeah, I will start and then I will leave you something because depends of the level that you are measuring reality. So like what we do is measure the culture, but not only the culture. Because the most of the assessments about culture, they give you a general view of how is the direction of the culture. What we do, we measure different culture profiles, so you can understand like percentage of your people, they think they're in this kind of culture, other percentage, they think that they're this way of culture. To give you a small example, we did a work with a small team. The leader perception of the culture was outsmarting the market and be very flexible and creative, while the rest of the team, they're looking for a control culture, so more hierarchy, more structure, and more family vibes kind of culture. So there was disalignments, and the reality of the team was the reality of the team and was true for them. The reality of the leader was true for him. The problem is that how we can understand that we are looking at different reality and come to a compromise that will make us both happy. So this is one thing. The other thing that we use to, let's say, measure reality we do with leaders with the 360. So you as a leader, you kind of measure yourself, like your style, your capacity to delegate or whatever. And your team, your peer, and your superior, your managers, they will do the same. So you will have an understanding how you are perceived by other people. So the reality is there is not one reality, really. There is not one that is true for everyone, but is the acceptance that there are different perception of what's going on and understand of these different voices. Then the ROG that Tarek used, he used it in coaching setting that can be used like measure the reality without some tools, for example, and then I will leave to him to reply to that.
I will add one thing, David. I'm gonna just like maybe re-saying what Vanessa said, but I will also share actually anonymous report of a client because I love the question and I think it's worth to spend some time on it. So can you see this PDF I'm sharing?
Yes, got that.
Perfect. So what we do, David, our flagship is our assessment for culture and team dynamics, and our purpose is to put science behind the misalignment of people without bias or judgment. And the questionnaire that, for example, you and your team will fill will give you as a result a big heat map based on different criteria we have, like goal setting, conflict resolution, decision making, and so on. And it's based on the dimension that we see in a healthy culture: control, connect, create, compete, but also in dynamics between consolidation, collaboration, consistency, and clarity. And the way we calculate the response take into account the bias of people and the unconscious rating. So in what position the answer was. Without saying too much now, you get a heat map, and based on that, you can understand where is the misalignment in perception. For example, in this case, you can see in goal setting, it's the first one on the top with a high standard deviation. So the stronger the color, the higher the STD, a higher misalignment. And then this is where you go and we look at conflict goal setting. You can see, for example, here that the team, so half the team in blue, 50% of it, perceive goal setting as connect. Their natural perception of the team in goal setting is connect, so collaboration, while the other half is scattered between control, compete, and create. So we will tell the client in this case, so that's the reality. There is no yet any assumption about anything. From there now you can build a workshop to understand, okay, maybe if that team has goal setting issue, maybe it's because the blue that represents 50% of the team is not able to see the green or red or orange that are perceiving different things in that goal setting procedure, for example, and so on. I hope it makes sense, David, because I don't want to talk for hours about the model.
No, we use a similar kind of radar, if you like, in terms of experience people having within the workplace. And if I can just ask one more question, and I'll clear the floor then for somebody else. But for me, I think there's a thread that goes through all of those diagrams, and something that needs perhaps defining even before anything else, and that is what is actually talent, and how do we define it? And I'll leave that, and I'll leave the floor for somebody else. But what really is talent? Because I think that's the thread. We have so many people that are over promoted, so you're actually building failure into so many things even before you've started, because we're not selecting the right people with the right innate talent to deal with the complexity that the surrounding the environment, the people demand. So that's, I'll shut up now and leave it to somebody else. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David. I think it's a good question. What is talent? And sometimes it's related to what Emma was asking to David, actually. She was asking if the question David posed is about what happens if a person's belief and morals are at odds with the dynamics of the organization and colleagues. Like, we are not machine. We are not able, as much as we try and tend in that direction, but we are not really able to measure something completely objectively. So what is a talent in one company and can be different in other company, because the value and the morals underneath are different. So I can be the same person, I can be, I don't know, very good at as a psychologist. I can thrive in one company because I'm aligned with their values, and I can struggle in another company because their values are not aligned with me. So the talent is not only what is a person is able to do, but also how he's able to integrate themselves in the team as individual inside the culture of company. I don't know if Tarek has more to add.
No, I think you said it well. Also, like yesterday, were having a podcast at Hill University, and we're talking about actually talent and even how even people are using AI now to attract talent or even shortlist. And the thing, even what we challenge in company is even the person in the HR department looking for talent are themselves setting the criteria of what is the talent or what it looks like if we go granular into it. So they might be impacted by what is trending online, what's the need of their company, and what they think you see is the best need. And actually, sometimes that misalignment as well and bias can get you the wrong talent. Like, for example, some company we spoke with anonymously as well, they hired CEOs to lead a tech company, and that CEO never coded in their life. So, but for example, they saw that actually they might have another strength, not in managing a team or a small startup in coding, but in something else. So you see, there is always layers of bias of how we look at things. Again, it's not a clear answer. It's a lot of work. We are human, all of us, but we have to start somewhere.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Emma wrote something else. I will read it. My observation through my experience is that people don't like change. Very true. Even if it could improve efficiency
Sure.
and finance. And that resistance can be frustrating, which then leads people to switch off from all working towards the same goal and outcomes. If staffs lose that buy-in or the why, then problems will arise and culture will unreveal. Absolutely true. Like, I think you're spot on in your observation, and you can see this in different contexts. I work as a psychologist and psychotherapist. I work with trauma, so I can find people that come to me that are in terrible situation, maybe in a very horrible relationship, but they're scared to change because they know what is it. They know how to handle stressful this kind of situation, but they don't know themselves in something different, in something unknown. And this is very, very, very scary. And organization, whenever they want to implement new things and change, they have to take on board this feeling, because it's very human, first of all, and because it can lead to a failure in implementing new change. So it's very important to take people on board, to walk them through the process, to make them understand the change, to make voice their fear, and to help them to imagine themselves in something that is unknown and make it knowing somehow.
And to add about what Emma said, because it's spot on, and it's a big challenge in my coaching, I'm seeing in many companies. You see, and I want to tie it back to misalignment, Emma, because something I always coach about is that, so what happens when people implement a change, the leader, they sit in the room and on their own, they go through the Kubler-Ross change curve, which is as well the Bereavement curve, let's say. So shock, denial, rejection, resistance, depression, acceptance, and then seeing the benefit. So at the time that they communicate the change to the company or the employee, the leaders are already at the end of the curve. And they easily forget that everyone now receiving this info are at the beginning of the curve. So again, misalignment. And this is where you get resistance and clash. And sometimes if you have a hierarchy control company, that's it. The leaders decide in the room after the coffee, and then they cascade the things. And what I always to say, so how can your culture be more of a transition where you use early adopter that are advocate of the change, you start that, but you don't force it on everyone until it runs smoothly. Now, it's easier said than applied. But again, if you go back to understand the misalignment, I feel this is where you minimize resistance. I'm not going to say you cancel it. But yeah, beautiful.
Mm-hmm. There is another comment from David. Another thought to throw in, beliefs and moral, but also a person's innate talents, drives, preference as to how they like to get things done, as we can potentially and inadvertently create conflict and poor mental well-being as a result. For that point, I can bring an example with me and Tarek. Like when we need to do something done, Tarek is very efficient. You have this, you need to go there, straightforward, things are done. My process is like more like this before everything's done. And when we are kind of aligned about our direction, the main goal and everything, this is more easy, especially for Tarek, to digest. But when we are not aligned, the frustration come out more and more and more. So yeah, we are different. We all are different. We do things in different ways, and sometimes the way someone has pissed off us a lot. But when we are aligning something, the vision, the goal, these things are more digestible, and we tolerate more the diversity.
Spot on. Yes. You see, I love again all the words that David is using, like the personal innate talent, the drivers, the preference. And you see, and this is exactly what we keep telling people. Sometimes to make a team work well, it's not about making tremendous compromise where I have to change my personality to work well with David or Vanessa because they like different things. It's more about understanding how everyone can be genuine, authentic, but really seeing that misalignment and meeting in the middle. And sometimes I always say, so when I coach about conflict management, I tell leader directly, if you start seeing on what you agree before what you disagree, you will right away reduce the conflict, let's say by 50%. So seeing where on what we agree, what can I see in you that is right in your preference to acknowledge that, same you do with me, and then we take it from there, where we disagree and how can we find the right compromise. Also another comment from Emma I'm seeing. I always say the following, 5 plus 2 equals 7, but so 4 plus 3, 1 plus 6, so yes, 10 minus 3. What is important is the outcome, but please consider options as how to get there. Yes, no way is the perfect way, but we have fun getting there, or we have fun along the way to have more way. I like it. No, it's true. It's true. Exactly this. You see, again, you are saying it in a more poetic, nicer than my way, which is about like, if you see the misalignment, we will get there. But we need to understand actually where are we not aligned. So imagine if, for example, let's take an example about me and Vanessa, but that's not the real example here, but it's coming to my mind. Imagine me and Vanessa, we're building the company together. Vanessa's mission is we want to democratize intervention in organization, make it accessible to help people. And me, I'm very fixated. I want to build a £5 million business in the first year. That misalignment, if it's not understood, the synthesis will not go far. Now, it doesn't mean we need to compromise each one objective, but we need to understand what we want, how can we be authentic, and how we can get there. Now, definitely my ambition is on the £5 million company, but I wanted to give that contrast. Yeah. Oh yeah, I love it, Emma, and I'm gonna quote you actually when I use it. I like it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other question, guys? Please question, curiosity, or even sharing opinion like you did. We really enjoyed your interaction with us. So even not hesitate to just even speak if you want. Okay. So in this case, we are not okay. Emma is writing, cool. So I'm gonna wait before doing the wrap up. Again, we're not disappearing after. Thank you so much, Emma. This means a lot, actually. We try to bring an insight simple to let you go away with a nugget, and we're not disappearing after the presentation. Connect with us on LinkedIn if you're not already connected, and let's grab a coffee for a chat if you want to know more. We are very enthusiastic about everything around building better workplace from a small startup to a large company. And we'll always be happy to have a coffee and have a chat and take this further. And if you'd like to know about our service as well, please reach out.
Absolutely. David is still writing. And I will add that we will put the registration on our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
We will reach out to David privately to ask him permission if you want to be featured or not. But yeah, for every question, if you want to refer to this session again, you can see that. And that's it for my behalf.
Yeah, I put the website in the chat. You can find in the 4C section of our model some case study on the bottom if you're intrigued to see our model in action and how it brings alignment to misaligned team. And again, guys, any curiosity, you can find us as well on YouTube. I can put it right away. We have a very new, very small channel on YouTube, nothing fancy, but we want every knowledge that we are sharing to be somewhere for everyone. So I'm gonna as well put for you the channel, guys, if you would like to check, follow, stay updated. You can find us with many small insights. We talk about our model in like a 3-4 minute video. And thank you so much for joining us. Please stay in touch and we'll hope to see you next time.
Thank you very much. And thank you for your questions. Are the best part always.
Yes. Have a lovely weekend, guys. Have some rest. Bye-bye.
Bye.